Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to our May Scream Live. If you're new here, I'm a big fan of the Scream franchise. I had the fantastic opportunity of talking about my Scream rankings over on Sledgehammer Horror. I did put a link to that episode in the description if you want to go check out those rankings. And so I'm really excited to have the guest that I have today to talk about Scream in all its glory and to discuss it in a little more depth. So, Steve, you guys should be super familiar with. Steve is my co-host on The Coffee Crypt. He has been in other episodes of mine as well and does some other stuff in horror. Melinda is my best friend and my designated go to see Scream with me in the movie theater friend. And then Norin should also be familiar with you guys. He's been on my channel as well and has a horror content YouTube he does a lot of other media stuff too, but does some horror content as well. So, and I'm gonna let them talk about that a little bit more in just a second. Steve, you want to talk a little bit more about what you do besides the Coffee Crypt?
Well, besides the Coffee Crypt, I'm also part of another channel called The Horror Hour, which is a queer-run horror YouTube podcast show. I don't co-host often. I do a lot of the behind-the-scenes editing and all that good stuff, but I try to get on when I can because parenting, it keeps you busy.
Definitely.
All right, Melinda, you want to talk a little bit about you?
He didn't take long enough.
We talked about this like hours ago. You're supposed to be.
I know. My name is Melinda. I do some things. Angel and I had a YouTube channel together about being moms, so that's fun. Still content around. Go visit it, Moms Like Me. I think we're going to turn that into a podcast sometime soon.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I don't actually like scary movies very much. I like thrillers. I love thrillers. I love the Scream franchise, but like scary movies, I'm not the biggest fan.
But you what's the one that you like that it shocks people that you say that you like because you say you don't like scary movies?
Oh, 13 Ghosts?
Yeah, you love that.
I love 13 Ghosts.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
it's such a good one. And the people who say it's not are wrong.
Incorrect.
Yeah, that's kind of all I have.
That's cool. All right, Norin, you want to talk about your channel?
Yeah, so over at NorinRad89, I do mostly horror content, reviews, lists, and rankings. Like recently, I redid all the Puppet Master franchise, so I've read all of those films. But I also do physical media hauls, and I just recently did a Batman collection video. So stuff like that too, fun collectible videos as well, along with all my horror content.
Yeah. So that's our panel for tonight. And we are talking all things Scream. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this. If you're watching this now or later, we will be discussing things openly that happen in 5 and 6. So it will be spoiler filled. We're not holding back any information. So if you have not seen 5 and 6 or just 6 and you don't want anything ruined, maybe come back after you check it out. Yeah. So, that's weird.
Ghost in the Machine.
What's happening?
Just a ghost in the paranormal activity.
Well. It looks like the Scream live stream is about to begin. Let's see who's online, shall we? It's my friend Angel from Voices from the Mausoleum. And she's brought a few friends along. Norin, Melinda, and Steve. Well, I'm very excited to watch this live stream. But remember to watch out what you say. As the saying goes, loose lips lose tongues. Anyway, let's all grab some popcorn and enjoy the show. Don't make me gut you like a fish, you understand?
Ooh.
You got me there.
I know. Look, it's been so hard not to share that with you guys because I've had that in the works for weeks.
Oh my god, I love it.
So
That was really
is
fun.
my very dear friend Josh from Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake. He does a great ghost face, and so I asked him if he would mind making for the live. So I sent him everybody's names, and yeah, he got that to me. And so thank you,
killer
Josh.
job.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
Great.
it was fun watching y'all's reaction in the little boxes.
Oh, you could see us. I was like,
because I could see y'all, and I know. Yes.
I'm gonna be really honest. It took me a second because I don't think I've ever been on this side of StreamYard. Only there with you, so I didn't know to tap the button. That's what I was like. What are they laughing at?
Oh my god! Oh, because you're on your
Mama phone.
So, yeah. Thank you, Josh. That was awesome. You're the best.
Very cool.
Yeah. So we're just gonna kind of jump in here. We're gonna kind of quickly, because I've done my rankings, and I know Norin you post your rankings. Steve, I don't know if you've posted yours or not, but yeah. And so we're just gonna kind of tell everybody quickly what our ranking is, from first to last. Because if I do it the other way, I get confused. So Steve, what's your rankings for the Scream movies?
Recently changed, but whatever I posted. But so I'm doing this based on personal enjoyment, not film critique stuff, because there is a difference. But
sure.
So my personal favorites go 2, 1, 5, 6, 4, 3.
Okay.
Nice.
Which one changed?
5 and 6. So it was 2, 1, 6, 5, and now it's 2, 1, 5, 6. So I think there was a newness bias, recency bias with 6. I was like super in, and then I think as I thought about it more, and I was like, there's stuff with 5 I appreciate more, and I still love 6, but I kind of I think it needed to settle in before I
I can see that.
Yeah.
All right, Melinda, what's your ranking?
1, because first of all, it's the OG, so it should always be number 1. Steve. And then I've got 1, 5, 3, 4, 6, 2.
Ooh, nice.
Let me make that face.
That is debatable. Well, let's talk about that.
Who is the?
Wow.
Oh my god.
That's my number 1, so we got some things to discuss.
We
Okay.
do.
Yeah, no, we got a good one.
I have very specific reasons as to why. And
No, I'm
it'll make
curious to
sense
hear. Yeah.
It'll make sense the next time we talk about it.
Okay. All right,
Cool.
Norin, what's your rankings for Scream?
So we have the top dog is always going to be the first one, the OG Scream.
Yep.
And then we have coming in second place is going to be 5 Cream, which is what I like to call it. and then number 3 is going to be Scream 2. Then we have Scream 4. And then in last place is going to be Scream 3.
Okay.
And then, let's see. And then 6.
Oh,
Okay,
Let's
so
see,
there's
I forgot
another one in
6.
there.
Yeah, we have to put 6 in there. So 6 goes right above 4.
right above 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for me, it's 1, 5, 2, 4, 6, 3. And 2 and 5, this is the one I was talking about beforehand. Like they switch sometimes. It just depends on the conversation or what I'm thinking about when I decide to give it. Because I think I've definitely said 5 was my second before, but then I've said, the other way around. So, but yeah, those are my that's my ranking. So, yeah. So we're just going to start with this. Melinda, why is 2 last?
Because that's my least favorite killer.
Oh, great segue. Okay.
That is why. That's why.
Really?
So is it Mickey or is it Mrs. Loomis?
No,
Which
it's
one?
Mickey because he's a fucking idiot. Like,
Whoa.
are we in long enough for to say the F word? I think so. We're like, it should be fine. So I rewatched. I rewatched 2, 3, and 4 today because the others, 5 and 6 are recent. I remember everything from them. 1 I've seen multiple times. The others I've only seen once. So I went back and I watched them, and he is just the klutziest, messiest killer, in my opinion. And I just don't like him. It's just she is obviously the mastermind and he's the pawn, right?
Yeah.
So and he plays every part of the pawn and he does a great job of that. I just don't like him as a killer.
Do you like Timothy Oliphant as an actor outside of that, or is it just?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's fine as an actor.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays pretty boys. But he's also playing a pretty boy in this movie. But no, he's just my least favorite killer. There's not enough depth to him for me.
Oh yeah, I agree with that at least, because there was a missed mark, I think, with Mickey, because I mean there's a hidden detail that, not hidden, but like the detail that people tend to forget is that like he's supposedly like an active serial killer. That Mrs.
I do forget about that.
That's where she found him. It's on a serial killer website.
They didn't do enough with that.
No.
They could have totally ran with that a little bit more.
To your point, had they done more with that, I would have liked him more, and I would have a different least favorite killer.
Yeah.
Yep. Mickey's he's definitely not my favorite, but he's way further up my list than that. Like he's not even in the bottom 3 for least
He's
favorite.
probably middle ground, yeah.
Yeah, he's like in the middle for me because I didn't think like I like what you guys were just saying. I think there was a missed opportunity with getting us more invested in like creativity wise with who he was and where he came from, and because a lot of the film he feels like a background character, which is probably on purpose, but wasn't really done that well. So he just kind of got and I always forget about the serial killer thing. I always forget about that because it's just kind of like a footnote, I guess you'd say. Yeah. So Steve, who's your least favorite Ghostface?
Oh, Charlie.
Oh, he's my second.
Charlie. Everyone hates Charlie.
He's so cute, though. He's so cute.
He is so cute.
Dweeb. I don't know.
He's hopeless romantic.
He just wants to be loved by the cute girl at school.
Yeah. I think I've harped on Charlie for so long. He's just my go-to. I think I honestly think Ethan then might be my least favorite after I've digested 6. But like it's been Charlie. It's between those two.
It's been Charlie. So
it's been Charlie since.
Why break tradition?
Why break it? I don't know. I just think Jill. I just love Jill so much. I think by comparison, like Charlie just falls flat because she goes at 110 at the end, and I'm like, Charlie, you gave us nothing.
But that's how I feel about Mickey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mrs. Loomis, Lori
Metcalf is like, putting those two up next to each other is like, there's just no compare. But it's kind of like that in every film, though. There's always the one that's like the like, what did you say? Like the mastermind, the one that's like over it. And then there's always the one, or in this most recent case too, that just go along with it to an extent. Like that's a pretty common dynamic, I think, for all of the killers. Yeah, I would say.
Oh yeah.
I can agree with that.
Yeah. Norin, who's your least favorite Ghostface?
Ooh, so this goes along with my least favorite film, and that is Scream 3. So that's Roman Bridger, and he is my least favorite. And mainly for me, as a personal reason, he takes away from Billy and Stu, and I hate that. I can't stand that. That is like, once they talked about his motive and then they explained who he was, it totally ruined it. I was like, no, I would rather just erase that whole thing. I like the fact that he's the one and only one killer. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. That's something I'm like, oh, I give that props to him. But in terms of a motive, I can't stand it because I love Billy and Stu so much that it takes away from that first film for me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think I also felt, Roman as a character, like, I don't know, it felt a little too cookie cutter as far as like the general reasoning or whatever behind it. It's like, you got mommy problems, so you just cut up a bunch of people, like cry me a river. He's my second least favorite. My first is Steve, Jill.
Yeah. Oh,
I hate Jill. And when there was like those, those like rumors, like, oh, is she going to be in 5? Is she going to be in 5 or whatever? I was like, I swear to God, they
just did.
I was like, I don't want, like, I hated her character so much. I feel like even though I did not like the killers in 6, and I didn't really think the motivation was very strong in 6 as far as all of the stuff that kind of went along with it. I think the weakest setup for Ghostface reveals and point behind why they're doing it is definitely Scream 4. I think like overall you're like, okay, so you're like, you've got another family member involved, fine. But then her whole thing about like why she's doing it and what she's trying to be. And I don't know, like, I just thought it was like so dull. I was so underwhelmed at her reveal. And she has become one of just one of my least favorite characters in the Scream franchise in general. So she's absolutely my least favorite killer. And I think I will say this, because I don't remember who I talked about this with. I think they did her as a Ghostface a disservice when they extended the movie into the hospital. Like, I like some of the banter and some of the shots in the hospital, but they extended it way too far out past the reveal. And then it just was like, okay, like, you're not as cool as you think you are. We get it. Like, we know you're not, I just thought all of that just made me dislike her even more.
Fair. Definitely fair.
I felt like she was ahead of her time though. Like Scream 4 kind of like came out just before internet fame, really. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I dig it for what it was predicting. It was definitely a bit of a Simpsons-esque prediction moment. Of like where they saw the trends, they saw where it was going with YouTube fame, and because YouTubers were a thing at that point, but like it was nowhere near where we are right now, in terms of like influencers and stuff. So I think Jill just gets extra points from me in the sense that like as a social commentary it works, but I see what you're saying. I get it. I'm not gonna argue with you, but
I'm a sucker for as Emma Roberts, like her performance, like she goes for it. Like they said, that's one reason I can see why Charlie would be at Steve's bottom, is because she does chew up the scenery and overshadows him completely. Like she overtakes that completely, and I think she's just a great actress. And I even liked her in American Horror Story when she was in those seasons too.
Oh yeah,
no, she's a great actress for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think she did fine with what she was given. I just think that the setup for her reveal and then all the stuff that followed after was just not well executed. And then it was a disservice to her as a ghost face. And I think like, I said Roman was probably my second least favorite, but that's not actually true because I hate the killer reveal in 6. That like almost ruined that movie for me. I was so annoyed. I knew 2 of the 3 way beforehand. And the third one was like, I was so annoyed. And then the connection between them and why they were doing, I hated it. I've been sitting on that since we went and saw it. Melinda and I went and saw it opening weekend. And I've been sitting on it since then. And I've had countless conversations about Scream in general, including 6. And I still don't feel any differently. Like I like some of these things that's being added to the franchise as far as like, like what Steve mentioned about like some of the social commentary, the story building. I loved that it was in like a bigger setting, but the killer reveal, like, I don't know, maybe I'm biased because they just didn't do what I wanted to do, but like the things that happened, I just like, did anybody else predict 6, the killers? Anybody?
I mean, I feel like I had a feeling it was the cop, but for me, it's like, I've never been shocked by a Scream killer. I think
even in the first,
because I think Scream does a thing where like they telegraph it pretty hard. Except I honestly think Jill maybe is the one that they least tell. Jill and Roman, I think were the least.
Yeah, Roman was too.
Roman was so left field.
Yeah,
I definitely did not know it was Roman until the reveal.
Yeah, but I feel like with like Billy and Stu, like they red herring the shit out of those guys to the point where you're like, I'm not surprised if it's them,
Yeah.
With Mrs. Loomis and Mickey, it's kind of like they were so background where you're like, maybe, and because it's like, well, with Mickey, it's like, it's got to be a friend group. And then here's this random reporter messing with, Courtney Cox.
Yeah.
So like, wow.
Yeah.
But Mickey,
I think the main thing
I
was gonna say, I think the main thing with Mickey is because he kind of disappears midway through the film, like where he just vanishes completely.
Yeah.
Right.
He does.
Yeah.
Charlie seemed a little sus, and then Jill was left field, and then 5. I mean, the killers I think were pretty red herringed as well. And then with
No,
6,
I picked out 5 too.
yeah.
I thought as soon as it showed Amber and Richie in the hospital bickering, I was like, ugh, it's both of them.
Mm.
And then when it got revealed, I was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I did like Amber's reveal. I don't really care for Amber as a ghost face in general. She's like, but her reveal was actually pretty good. Like the gun, and she's like, oh, I know you're not. Like I was like, well, that was pretty good. Like as far as reveals go.
That's my favorite reveal, actually. She's not.
That might be one of my favorites too.
It's the great third act turn. Like I think that's it's the most fun, the most kind of like
yeah, I totally agree. I think when because somebody pointed out, maybe it was you, Steve, that there seems to be this like pattern of formula that they're following, right? Because in the first one, it's the love interest and a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the next one, it's a friend and a family member of one of the previous.
It's kind of same kind of motive too.
Yeah. And then when we get back to 5, it's a love interest and a friend. And then 6 is family connected to the love interest and a friend. So it's like, people, I've seen people talk about like, well, is 7 going to be 3, and it's going to go back to a family member and they're going to bring in, either their mom or, I don't know, some other random sibling or something crazy, who knows, but there seems to be like a formula for determining like who's going to be the killer.
Well, I think because it's about because what Scream has become, it's not just a movie about horror movies, it's now a movie about itself. Right. And that's kind of like the real shift with 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Is that they're not just like, oh, yeah, here's a Friday reference. Here's a Nightmare reference. Like we are going to call out our own stuff.
Yeah.
At this point. Which is fun. Right. But then you worry about it being too predictable.
Yeah. Well, and I think like a lot of the scenes, like, so 5 and 6, I would definitely say are getting way more gruesome. Dewey's death in 5 is brutal. In 2 ways. And the same thing with like 6, like the kills were like, I think me and Melinda both were just like moving in our seats as things were happening.
Yes. It was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable.
Yeah. But to the point
for me, I like that factor because I like when Ghostface is more brutal. Besides that first film, which I love the first one because, like I said, it's the OG.
Yeah.
But he's still kind of clumsy in that one. Billy and Stu make mistakes, and there's points where it's like, oh, they could have got the one up on them, but then now, as we're seeing it in Scream 5 and 6, these Ghostface are more prepared for the situations that they come into.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Well, now we know why after seeing both movies, though.
Well, sure.
Because it explains it. It explains like all the preparation and stuff that they've done and why they're so good at it. So I am curious about the next one. Like I have no idea who it could be.
The next one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pushing for Cult still.
It might happen.
And no matter how many movies they make, I will always hope that Stu returns, no matter how many they make.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Like when Kirby references the TV, or when they pass by, not at the end, but when they first pass by the TV, like midway through 6, I was like, yes. And then they revealed, and I was like, no, because it was not what I wanted it to be. But yeah, what did you guys think of the cult stuff? Like, or at least, all of that like stuff in the what was it, a theater?
Yeah, the shrine, kind of the shrine.
That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, that was the one thing I was going to say. What Steve said, that keyed me into the detective. Once I saw the shrine, I was like, it has to be. There's no possible way it cannot be someone who's in the police force because they have to have that ability to get all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that made sense with all the masks. Like it was a hint. Like it had to be somebody who had access to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and the use of the gun, the way that the gun is handled in the convenience store or whatever, the handling of the firearm was something that I think a few people said also gave away. I don't think there was any like one thing. I didn't honestly think about it with the shrine, but there's like this scene when he comes out and he's like being upset that his daughter is dead, right? And I was like,
yeah,
that bitch is not dead. And I knew like immediately when he came out, I was like, it's him and her. And then now they did throw me off with the third killer because they beat into us. You know, Mindy's like, it's definitely Ethan. It's definitely Ethan.
Ethan, yeah.
This comical, point. And it's like, so it can't be. But I think like that kind of goes back into what Steve was saying about it being a franchise that discusses itself, because it does point out a lot of things about the killers through all the other films. And so this was obviously like a much more like over the top way to do this. But yeah, I definitely didn't think she was dead when they them.
You know what I realized today, rewatching 2? Yes, rewatching 2. I kind of forgot about like the roommate reference in the second movie.
Yeah.
About it, it could be the roommate, but it wasn't the roommate in 2. Mm-hmm. But then it was the roommate in, we're to the spoiler section.
We've been talking.
So we no spoiler.
I gave a disclosure.
It's the damn roommate in 6. And like there's a couple of little things like that I picked back up on today. And I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot about that.
I didn't even think about that actually.
That's fun. Yeah, that's cool.
There's a lot of stuff
definitely a
like
nod. That it's got to be a nod back to that. Like,
sure.
Yeah.
Well, it is interesting how they infiltrated their lives, right? Like I like that kind of like gives you that. I know they're not really a cult, but it gives you that kind of cult vibe.
And one of the things that Angel and I talked about after seeing 6 was some of the disconnect is because we didn't get to know those characters.
That's true. Yeah,
we don't know their story. Like we got to in the 5th movie, we got to kind of know the boyfriend. And then the other chick was like part of the friend group, right?
And had been. Yeah.
Yep. And we felt like we knew them.
Yep.
Versus in the 6th one, we didn't really get to know them. We thought we knew a fun roommate that slept with the wrong dude and a grieving father. Like we thought we knew those people, but that's not quite. He was a grieving father, but for other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just not the same depth. But that's kind of like, I mean, you get that a little bit with Mickey and Ronan too. Like, you don't get a lot of depth to their characters until the end.
And that's a lot to process at one time.
Yeah, but I think in the 3rd movie, I don't know, that's my 3rd favorite. I guess there's I don't know, there's a little bit something more to it that, he's not totally off-putting as Ghostface, but I don't know.
Well, and I think that's what happens when they try so hard, or maybe not even trying so hard, mediocrely trying to kind of keep it gray who it could be. Mm-hmm. But then they push them in the background so much that then we aren't invested when they're revealed, or it makes it harder. Because like, of course, like Billy and Stu, those are characters you spend the entire film like getting used to seeing and watching them interact and hearing the type of people they are and seeing them in these social situations. And so I think that's one of the only reasons that I didn't think it was them, is because it just felt like I wanted to trust them, just like Sydney did, just like their friends did. I wanted to trust them because why wouldn't we? They're a part of everything. They've been in our lives. There's no reason not to. And to your point, when it comes to the others, it's all of this information connecting them to the story, and it's so last minute that it's like whiplash.
A little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like in the most recent film, that was the reason that kind of 6 got held back for me a bit, was I knew once we got to that 3rd act and then things started to get revealed, I was like, oh, this is going to get kind of messy. And then like they started saying more stuff. And then Dermot Mulroney starts going on his soliloquy about like why he did what he did. And it's just like, it's so loose for me that I was like, I'm not invested anymore. And I was having so much fun And then it just kept losing
fun.
me as they kept talking and talking. I was like, oh, no, really?
Yeah. Once they put on the movies that Richie had, or like, I was like, I'm out. Like, I don't really care about this shit anymore. But I do think exactly what you said, though, Norrin. Like, 6 was a lot of fun. 6 has my favorite kill of the franchise. Like, 6 was a lot of fun, and it was a very different tone than any other Scream movie in existence so far as going into the bigger environment, opening us up to a world of normal things like going away for college and having, friend groups outside of the people you grew up with, and just interacting in a bigger place in general, and having these people forming relationships away from people in Woodsboro. Like, I think that was really, really smart. The kill, like we talked about already, the kills are super brutal and effective as far as like getting you hyped. And I was invested in all of that. And exactly like you said, we got to that third act, we're locked in, and all this stuff starts to unravel. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I am not excited about this reveal, like, at all.
Yeah.
So the saving grace for me, at least, though, with it, it's not like, I think I told you, it's not so much about the killers for me. It's more of like what they represent for the franchise, right? Of like again, like with the social commentary of what they were doing in terms of like Sam's character and like misinformation and all of that element of it. But also just like because also not to forget that there were actually 2 other killers in this movie as well.
True. You're right. 1.5.
And we kind of, I mean, we forget about it after the opening scene, right? But like, just the idea of like, I honestly think that this is where the franchise is going. Like, if we don't necessarily get a cult idea, but I think what the family started is chaos.
Yeah.
I think this idea of like, Sam has a target on her back. Now we're going to scapegoat her, right? And it's like, okay, we are going to radicalize people online to now go after this group. And that's essentially, I feel like that's the fire that they lit, right? So like, so it's not so much like their motive per se. It's revenge, right? I mean, it's 2 part 2, but it's this idea of like, wow, it can get so much bigger than that. And that's where I think that's what excites me about 6, where it feels like a high dive. It feels like, man, like the lines are drawn, like some shit can go down now. And so it's like, I forgot what YouTube channel I was watching. So I apologize, I can't give them credit, but like they were saying, like, what if it was like a cross country kind of chase for 7, right? If like it's like almost like they had to get back to Woodsboro for some reason, whatever. That's like the final showdown, like the true return to Woodsboro, like is the original plan for 3. But because there's all these people that are radicalized along the way, like it becomes this whole
they're everywhere.
Like they could be Ghostface anyway, and it's not just 1, 2, 3. It's
10.
Whoever's been fed whoever drank the Kool-Aid, essentially. And I think that could be a wild direction. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but I mean, thematically, it seems
like it could go that way.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be saying, in another year, we'll be like, oh, Scream 6 walked, so Scream 7 could run, or like those things where like something sets something up and then what's after is even better than what was before. But like, is talking about like the other killers. So it's really just 1, right? Because the guy from the beginning, I don't even remember his name. The guy from the beginning.
Jason. That was
Jason.
Jason. Yep.
Right.
Norrin, of course, would know it was Jason. Jason. So Jason kills prematurely, right? Like they're planning these things, they're working on these things with he and his roommate friend, whatever. And so, the other guy, as far as we know, hasn't killed anyone yet, but is part of this plan to do these things. One thing I will say, and this may be, like I know the Drew Barrymore kill setup for the original Scream is iconic. You take the biggest star in the whole movie and you just off them right in the first like 10 minutes of the film. Big deal. Totally understand why it set the standard. However, the opening for 6 was so fucking good. When the Ghostface says, who cares about the fucking movies? I was like goosebumps. I was like, okay, let's go. I'm ready for Scream 6.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. just about cat and mouse game. Like the killer versus killer aspect is it's just fun, right? It's refreshing.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that old cartoon show, Spy versus Spy. We had the Spy versus Spy. I always wanted two Ghostface working together or working separately in the same movie. So we had two killers, but they didn't know they were existing at the same time.
That would be cool.
Then like maybe we as the audience know one and then we don't know the other one. So it's like, kind of thing. That's some way they could play with it like that.
Yeah, I thought that's what they were going to do in this one, actually.
Yeah.
I thought we're going to go the whole movie and know who it is. Oh my God. And then that
would have been wild. Well, we were going to do something like that for the original Scream 5, right? Before they decided to add the hospital set, Jill was going to live and then she was going to go to college. Kirby was going to like forget kind of what happened because Kirby wasn't there for the Jill reveal.
Right.
So she wasn't going to know.
Yep.
And they were going to like have another killer know what Jill did, and it was going to be killer be killer. So I feel like they took pieces of that original idea and kind of started it in this one, weaving it in a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what? I would have been okay with Kirby being Ghostface in 6.
Agreed.
Me too.
Agreed.
I thought they were going to do that.
I thought they were too.
And correct me if I'm wrong. It wasn't ever mentioned that Kirby survived. Was it?
It's
in
mentioned in 5.
Easter egg. They have the little bullets.
It's an article that shows that she survived. But other than that, it's not talked about. It's not, it's almost like I was almost treated like an Easter egg in 5. And then it came to fruition in 6.
It was really convincing when the cop is like, hey, can you look into Kirby from Atlanta? Like, like that was convincing. I was like, oh shit, maybe it is her.
I know, because he was like, oh, she's been suspended or whatever, and then she like locks them in the thing, and I was so in for that though. I was like, because every time we get a female that survives something awful like this, they always become these flowers of peace. No, fuck that. Go turn into like full villain mode and just kill everybody. Like. Go full villain. I had to suffer through this. Now it's y'all's turn. Like I would have been so there if Kirby had been Ghostface. 6 would have went like way up on my list.
Shit, even if it had been Gail.
Yeah, she just snaps after Dewey's death. Totally believable.
Would have made so much sense. Would have been fine. She could have blamed Sam for like his death, and like just it would have been believable.
Rest in peace to her nameless boyfriend, though. Whoever that was in Scream 6 just got annihilated. We never even learned his name.
Muscles didn't help much.
Muscle boy, yeah. He just gets yanked. Like right?
You feel so bad. You're like, damn, Gail, look at you. Oh, there he goes.
Somebody said like that's what she gets for like moving on so quickly.
That was a little surprising. I was surprised that she had another person, just because I was like, I thought her and Dewey were that close that if he really died, that she would never love like that again.
Yeah,
I had a feeling that she was with him before 5, though, maybe just because like we know that they broke up sometime after 4, right? So 4, they go to New York and then he leaves. I forgot they said how many years.
You're right though, because when they reconnect, they don't ever reconnect. They just become, back involved in each other's lives because of the stuff going on in Woodsboro, which that scene in 5, by the way, tears. Like I was like so emotional watching them talk to each other and like they're, oh my God, like the music from like the first or second movie played a little bit. Like I was so in, like, I was like, oh my God. The Scream 5 is the only Scream movie that has been able to make me cry. Like the only one. Because I cared so much about what was happening.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was so much love to those characters in that one, and I think they really, they did a good job at just kind of like, again, honoring the legacy, right? That was the kind of the theme of 5, right?
Yep.
Yeah. You Run Podcast did an award show for horror movies of 2022. And so they had other like horror content creators do the acceptance speeches. And so the one that I got was best supporting was Dewey for Scream 5. And so I got to do like the acceptance speech. And like one of the things I said in that speech, and I stand by this, is that Dewey's not a support character. Like Dewey is one of the main characters, and he's like not only the most relatable, but the easiest to care about. Like I cared about him from the first moment I met him in Scream 1, and his death, pun not intended, gutted me. Like I was like, I mean, Melinda, were you in? I was in tears when he died.
We were just like sobbing.
We're like in the theater, like can't
like there were some audible.
I was too. I was too. My daughters were looking at me like I was kind of crazy. They were like, "Oh," because this was the first time my wife and I ever took our daughters to a movie, like horror movie, in the theater.
In the theater?
Yeah, they love horror movies, and Ghostface is their favorite that they've got attached to. So we're like, we have to go see Scream 5. And then when we went to go see it, when Dewey's scene happened, I grabbed my wife's arm and I was just like, they're not going to do this. They're like not going to do this to me. And I kind of know it was going to happen, but then it just it started coming. I was like, no.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that they took the risk and did it though, right? Because we need to be getting rid of our legacy characters anyway. Like it's time to kind of move on from that and kind of branch out, which is actually why I'm kind of annoyed that Gail didn't die in 6. Like I felt like that would have been like the last opportunity to be like, all right, last one, we're done. Well, I guess not really Kirby, but at least from the originals, like we would be moving away from that. And then she survived, and I was like, why? I know Steve doesn't agree.
What's that money?
No, I was gonna say, I just don't think she'll be back in 7. I think the idea is they talked about franchising, right? And it's the idea of they now have a rotating cast of characters where you don't necessarily need to bring them all 1 through 7 and just finish it. It can be a rotating. I mean, they're clearly taking a crack at Fast and Furious, all these kinds of movies where it's and you have all these, you can have a rotation. It doesn't necessarily have to be one person's story.
Yeah.
What rotation does the Fast and the Furious have?
Oh, I don't know.
Same
I don't watch
characters.
I don't watch Fast
and
the Furious. I didn't even realize how many there were until the most recent one got announced. I was like,
there's
Jesus
a
Christ.
new one. I'm like, why?
Oh yeah, and then there's 2 more. It's like, well, no.
I think I've only seen the first. I don't even think I've seen the second one. I think I've only seen the first.
Because I definitely saw Tokyo. I know that, but I don't think I've seen
them.
8?
I've seen 8 of them. Yeah,
Are they worth watching?
Well, 7 was Paul Walker's last one.
Right. He died during the film.
Died for real.
Yeah.
And perfect opportunity to end it
and just leave it.
Yeah.
That makes that money.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing that across all kinds of things right now with film and stuff, just trying to make money and not really caring about what they put out. Yeah. No, I think the franchise, I think Scream in general, I will never feel differently about this specific thing that I'm about to say, because I think this is the truest of the true. I think as far as consistency goes in horror franchises, I think Scream is one of, if not the most consistent, as far as we so far have not had a garbage Scream film. We've had ones that were weaker, had things we didn't like, whatever, but there hasn't been a Scream film that just sucked. That's not a thing.
There's still time.
Look, you're on here because you love Scream. Shut up.
It's true. But I also think they should have ended it already. I don't think there needs to be another freaking movie. I think they had the opportunity to end the story at least 3 times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the point, though. Now we're getting to a different story eventually, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm
hoping that's one thing I liked about Scream 6 is that it actually enhanced my love for Scream 5 more, because when you see Scream 5 and you watch it and then you see how Sam's character, once she kills Richie, it's the birth of her character in Scream 6. And it just makes it so much more just potent, because when you watch her in Scream 6, you understand that's why she is the way she is, because she went through this. And like I said, once she unleashes and she just kills Richie, it's like she's a whole new person now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it goes to love Sam's arc and just in general, and Angel knows as we were just tweeting about it. Was it yesterday, today?
Yeah.
But
You were like,
love
oh,
it.
can't wait to talk about this tomorrow.
Well, I just love it. I mean, it is so different for a final girl.
Yeah.
And this idea of like I was saying on Twitter, it was like, she spends 2 movies of people telling her who she is and what she's supposed to be, and this is who this is who you are, and she gets to decide that for herself, right? And and what I love with 5 is they don't just reference horror, right? They reference like Star Wars and all that, and they're clearly kind of giving her like this. She's like the light side, dark side character, right? Yeah. It's kind of like she is running away from her dark past, right? and they literally are kind of doing Star Wars in the sense of like you have the daughter of the evil, or the granddaughter of evil, and who's supposed to kind of toy with the dark side, pull herself back, toy with the dark side. And it's like now she kind of finally got to a point in 6 where she kind of drops his mask and she's like, okay, you know what? I'm not evil, but if you mess with me, we're gonna get twisted. And I kind of love that as a character, where it's like she's not afraid to get her hands dirty for the people that she loves, right? Which is such a rather than I don't know. I think it's just like there's a fine line, and I kind of like what they're doing with her.
Yeah, it's more unique, definitely, for sure, in terms of we've seen the whole they're like the chosen one, or they're like the symbol of good. We've kind of seen that rehashed over and over, and it's good to see a final girl who possibly does have maybe a chink in the armor where she could, like you said, go to the complete bad side if she does want to.
Right. But it's not even about being evil. It's just being willing to toy with the dark side of herself to get to do good, right? Because it's like sometimes we have to do things that we don't like to get what we need, right? So I kind of I love that very moral gray area. Yeah, she's like an anti-hero,
I feel like Sydney's capable of that too, though.
And Kirby could have been
Kirby could have been
on that one. My biggest complaint with Sam is that I didn't get out of what was presented to me what you did, Steve. I just got that they don't know. Like, it just seems like there's too much push and pull, and I just need her to make a decision. And if 7 comes and she does the same shit where she picks up the mask and puts it down, picks up the mask and puts it down, she will bar none be my least favorite Scream character, because I feel like there's, who she is and what she represents in the story was miles better in 6 than it was 5. I hated her character in 5, but it still didn't get me to caring about her in the franchise. I'm not invested in a serial killer daughter. Will I, won't I? Do or don't. I just pick one. I don't care. Just pick one so we can move on from this part of the story, because keeping that connection to Billy so open is, for me, defeats the purpose of moving the franchise forward, because it's still keeping us in the original stuff. And the seeing him, Skeet Ulrich, he's older. And seeing him in ghost form or hallucination form,
CGI form
did nothing for me. And it was and I know the moment in 6 when she puts on the mask is supposed to be this woohoo moment, and I was just she's just gonna take it off and be good again. I just couldn't. I want one or the other. I don't want ambiguous, not for this specific story. Sometimes I'm fine with neutrals, but I think she needs to be one or the other. And honestly, at this stage, I would be fine with the bad, or even if we got consistently one side of her through an entire film instead of the back and forth. But the back and forth drives me nuts, and I'm so disconnected from her as a character.
Yeah, but we see that all the time in other media, though, right? Like The Punisher, or
which I gave up on for the same
cop
reason.
that doesn't play by the rules, kind of we see it all the time,
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what makes Sam different?
Well, no, I don't like stuff like that either.
Oh, okay. So you're not a fan of anti-hero, kind of
I'm not. No.
Yeah.
I'm really not a fan of the Taylor Swift song "Anti-Hero." That's my least favorite song that she's ever made. Which is not relevant at all. But I don't like I don't really like that. I mean, the only anti-hero I kind of like is no, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say.
Now you have to say.
The closest thing to an anti-hero that I have ever like been invested in is Selena Kyle. Like that's the only character that I've ever been invested in that kind of toes the line of good and bad. But I think it's because she's still more one than the other. There's never this like, am I or am I not? This is exactly what I am, and it's two sides of the same coin. And if Sam's character can get there in 7, I will have a much broader respect for her arc than I do leaving 6.
Makes sense.
I think that's a fault of like filmmaking nowadays anyway. This is beyond Scream. I think because we're so franchise focused, is that we're afraid to complete story arcs.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
like
for
a story to end.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. They're just going to reboot it in 15 or 20 years anyways.
Not even. They're already redoing Carrie. Carrie was just remade a decade ago. Wasn't that long? Like they don't leave anything to rest.
I mean, they're also making a live action Moana, and that's only been out for a few years. So
that baffles me. But that's just because the Rock.
Did you not know that?
I did know they were doing the live action Moana.
But at least they're using at least 2 of the voice characters.
Yeah, so it won't be just like that would be so bad. I think they know better with that specific one. Like,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
We digress.
Yeah. I think you're right though. I think we see that in Gale not dying in 6. We can't let go. It's like we just got to keep things going, even if it doesn't make sense anymore. And I think I don't know. I just want them to get away. If we're going to continue to make these movies, then we just need to go in a newer direction altogether.
Yeah. Did you watch the show?
Melinda and I were just talking about this.
Talking about that.
So
I didn't know there was a show.
I've only seen season 1.
Okay.
I will remedy that soon, but I've only seen season 1. I really liked the show. I was super invested in it.
I mean, that takes a fresh look. That's a fresh take.
That's what I was telling Melinda, that it's not the same as the movies before.
Because I was wondering if there was stuff, because I found out about the show today. Look, I have not watched MTV in a long ass time, so I didn't realize there was a show. But I was wondering, like, are there things that carried on in the storyline from 4 to 5?
No, it's a whole new thing. Yeah. It's
its own thing.
The show happened because 4 underperformed in theaters, and Dimension wanted to, or whatever, the Weinsteins, they wanted to keep the rights. So they were like, rather than doing a straight Scream remake, they did the Scream series.
I mean, it had 3 seasons.
Did 2? Yeah, it was 3 seasons. But then what was weird was it got canceled kind of after 2, and then they rebooted it with the 3rd one. So it ends. Season 2 ends with a cliffhanger, and then it doesn't resolve.
No!
And then you just end. But then season 3 is just new people. So it's really weird.
That sounds awful.
Just like, no. She's like, that sounds better.
I'm like, well, first of all, like, I have so many shows that I've been like obsessed with, in love with, and they've gotten canceled, and they end on these like outrageous cliffhangers where you like, and I feel like it's fine. Like, I know the people who make these things, it hurts when their shit gets canceled. I know that it does. Just release like a paragraph and tell me what happens. Like, I can't stand that. There was this show called The Order, which is about werewolves and magicians, and magic, I should say, not magicians, more magic. But anyway, the season 2 or season 3, whatever season it was, ended on an absolute like mind-blowing cliffhanger, and they were just like, sorry.
I'm a big advocate, and I don't know who I need to talk to for this, but writers need to advocate for themselves and have a finale clause in the contract.
Yes.
If you're going to cancel my shit, you let me know. That way we can wrap it up the best we can.
Yeah.
Firefly.
There was a show I loved on Fox called Point Pleasant. It's a deep cut. Not a lot of people don't know about it. It was kind of like The Omen meets like Melrose Place or like 90210. It was like the Antichrist. She washes up ashore on like Point Pleasant, New Jersey, and it's like a teen drama mixed with like soapy supernatural stuff. Got canceled, but they had enough notice where they finished the last 5 episodes and then released it on a box set. So I have my nice little
perfect.
classic,
you get like your
miniseries that no one knows about.
See, but so then you have cases like Lucifer was on Fox, right? Mm-hmm. Wasn't Lucifer a Fox show?
Yeah.
And they ended that on a shitty point. Like they wrapped it up with like I don't know, you could see the present underneath the wrapping paper but couldn't get to it. Like it was a horrible ending. But then Netflix picked it up and did it right. And they like gave it another 2 seasons, I think. Mm-hmm. And like beautiful bow. I wish that would happen too. Like to some of those other shows that got canceled with the box cutter. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think like the other one that I think of is like Carnival Row. So Carnival Row is only 2 seasons. It was an Amazon show. And what it is after season 1, I guess because people are dumb and don't know good television, it didn't get great, hits or whatever. So they decided they'd give it 1 more season, but they would cancel it. And because they knew ahead of time, they were able, this is what I think they did. I think season 2 is really what would have been a season 2 and a 3, because there was a lot going on and it was a lot to get wrapped up. So in that instance, they didn't really like do it as well as it could have been done, but they were at least able to give you endings, satisfaction to the open storyline so that you weren't just like waiting on something you were never going to get.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of happened. This is not horror at all. Lucifer was at least a touch of horror. Kind of happening with Ted Lasso right now. I don't know if anybody watches Ted Lasso, right. But this is the last season. And so a lot of people are like, what's going on? We hate this. This is bullshit. It's because they're wrapping all the storylines up.
Yeah.
So like they want more time with the storylines, but there's only 2 more episodes. And they are closing everything up, but it's like happening too quickly for people, I think. So people are complaining about it.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's like British TV making, right? They don't beat a dead horse,
Yeah, that's true. So the series Scream ends on a cliff note for season 2.
Yeah, so you get like killer reveals in 1 and 2, but then there's like a coda, like a little like there's more
something else.
Yeah, they kind of because they do kind of like the finale for 2 is a little bit of like a nod to I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
Gross. Okay.
Well, just in the sense of like it's like a getaway. It's like a vacation 2-part. It's just like a vacation 2-parter kind of thing.
I gotcha.
Yeah. It's not like directly like I Still Know. But yeah, and then I guess it just I don't know. Just in MTV shows don't get good ratings anyway, unless it's like
God no.
And I just saw VH1 did season 3.
Yes.
Wasn't even MTV.
Oh, that's probably why it was so different.
Same parent company though. It's all
Viacom. Okay.
Which owns? It's just funny. It's like Viacom. They own like MTV, VH1, Nickelodeon. It's like that same branch.
I also didn't know there was I Know What You Did Last Summer show.
I didn't know. No,
I heard it wasn't. I didn't watch it, but I heard it wasn't.
Was it a show?
It was a show on Prime.
Yes.
I did know that. I'm lying. I did know that. I did not care for those movies. They got one. The first one's got my girl in it, but like I didn't care. I didn't like.
You like the first one? I watched the first one every 4th of July.
That's true. It is a 4th of July film. Yep.
That's fitting. Holiday horror.
My husband watches Air Force One, and I watch I Know What You Did Last Summer. Just 2 perfect double.
Air Force One or Independence Day?
No, Air Force One with Harrison Ford.
Oh my God.
That's a good movie.
Yeah. No, well, my husband's also like a Harrison Ford stan. Well, Indiana Jones, but
Indiana Jones.
So he was Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what your favorite kill of the franchise is? I know mine, but do you guys know yours? I can go first.
Billy's mine.
Is it?
Yeah, Billy's mine. Yeah, old school. I'm old school, and I love Skeet Ulrich's performance.
Yes.
And like once we get to that 3rd act, and like I love how Matthew Lillard is, but the way that they play off of each other is so perfect. And but for me, I'm such a Skeet Ulrich fan. Plus, he's freaking handsome. Like he's handsome too, so that helps. that freaking helps too. But you know what I mean? So when he's doing crazy stuff and he has like the one piece of hair hanging here and he's got the gun, he looks pretty hot. Like, but he's
really
cool
hot.
too.
He's my favorite. He's
Really?
my favorite Ghostface.
You said favorite killer or kill?
Kill.
Oh,
Like-
kill.
Oh,
Favorite
kill?
death.
Oh, favorite kill or killer?
Kill. Let's do kill. Do y'all know yours?
Mine's it's the scene as a whole. It's not just like the death itself. It's more of like Judy and Wes. That's like my favorite little like.
That was a lot of anxiety.
Cat and mouse. I just think that's such a well choreographed scene of like the call, and it's so because it's also heartbreaking. It's such a sad death. And it's a double whammy, mother son. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ!
You should watch it now that you're a parent.
Oh, I have.
Have you watched it after? Yes.
Yeah.
Like it is like.
But
I think that's
what makes it my favorite, though. It's the deaths that
in a
like
different way.
gut me, like emotionally. Like I think that's what I grab it. Like that's why I think like Casey Becker still holds up today. Just that moment when she's like reaching for her parents and she can't say their name, she can't call out. Like just those moments are just so like. That's what when Scream like does it well, they do it well. You know what I mean? Like those moments are like Dewey. But yeah, no, but Judy and West, that whole cat and mouse thing.
Yeah. Melinda, do you know yours?
I'm thinking.
All right, Norrin, you know yours?
Ooh, I would say I don't want to copy Steve's, but Judy's was very heart-wrenching. I remember getting really emotional with that one for sure. But I would probably say my favorite kill, it probably would have to go to Dewey, just because it really was, it showed the movie had stakes. They weren't afraid, you know what I mean? So when Scream 5 took that leap and they're like, we're taking him from you, you know what I mean? He's not coming back, because we've seen him get stabbed 9 times.
Oh my God.
You know, we've seen him almost get run over. We've seen a lot of stuff happen to Dewey. And then when they went in, both sides and start gutting him, you're like, oh, he's not coming back anymore. So probably
there's no coming back from that. Yeah. I think mine is like 2 parts, because I think if I have a favorite in like oh shit factor, and then I have like a favorite that hit me, which would be the Dewey kill. That one was really hard for me. But my favorite like fun, not really upsetting kill was the dumpster in 6. When the girlfriend falls off the ladder. It was like, okay, we knew it was coming, but like there was no shyness of the camera or the sound, and I was just not prepared for that. Because again, 6 is escalating into, you know, much more gruesome territory than the Scream movies before it. But that scene, like, I knew it was going to happen. I knew she was going to fall off that stupid thing, but it felt like I didn't know when it happened. And I probably literally went like, oh, like in the theater when it happened. And that's one of the few that's like made me have that reaction that wasn't an emotional response. It was just a whole like, ow, that was really good. I thought it was good.
Oh, it's so good. If you get a chance to watch the behind the scenes featurette on that particular death, it's a fun watch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They kind of just show you the body double, the makeup, and how they actually had to film it in 2 different locations.
God, that sound.
Yeah.
God. All right, Melinda.
Squish, crack.
I think Chill's death is my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh,
nice. That's not a Ghostface kill though. It means Ghostface being killed, but that's not.
That doesn't matter.
I think that's my favorite because, like, I just hated her as a character at the end. Because, like, fuck you, you whiny ass bitch. Like, make your own life. Do something yourself. Like, don't get mad because your cousin had really, really bad shit happen to her. Like, that's what she's mad about. She's mad that all this bad shit happened to her cousin. So her cousin...
And she got notoriety for it.
Got attention for it.
Yep.
Like, what the heck? Like, I just...
Her death is pretty good.
I like her death.
Very satisfying.
When the things went clear.
Yeah.
That's my favorite death.
Nice.
It's the most deserved, I think.
Yeah.
I think my second saddest one would be Randy. Like Randy's like, and I know that's so like typical. Every Scream fan is like, oh, Randy, but it's true. Like if I were in a horror movie, I'm Randy. Like I might make it to the sequel because I've seen a lot of movies.
Yeah.
No way am I making it past that. And his daytime kill was just so good. Like the setup for it and being on the phone and listening to him talk shit and like his character as a whole was just like, I was so connected to him. And his love for movies and his knowledge and his wit and he's a nerdy and like I just loved him so much. His death was really sad for me too because I was like, damn, they got him all the way here and
and then that bitch when she was talking about killing him, she's like, and then he got me all kinds of upset talking about my son.
That's okay. So that's actually the point when I started to suspect that it was Billy's mom because he starts talking shit about Billy and then it's like I was like, okay, maybe. Maybe it's somebody related to Billy.
I love if we're talking favorite killer, she's actually my favorite killer.
Is she?
Just hands down.
Laurie Metcalf.
I love a savage mother, like just giving
she's
me all the Mr. Voorhees. Like
she's one of my favorites too.
I just got to see Laurie Metcalf on Broadway actually, and I adore her. In Grey House is a horror Broadway show. Cool. It's not a musical, like it's just a play that's like genuinely scary. But she's so good. I won't reveal spoil. It's a show that if people watching this are going to see it, you don't want to know anything about it. But her performance is so good. And there's no other horror people. Well, no, actually it's got the deaf daughter from Quiet Place in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then Tatiana Maslany's in it. She-Hulk.
Cool.
Yeah. Paul Sparks. I forgot what he's in. He's in like House of Cards. He's in a bunch of stuff. But but Laurie, she's just like she does. Well, that's another thing with Scream that I think Angel and I might disagree on. I love it when it goes full camp. And I think that's part of what makes Scream fun because it is at the heart a parody of horror. Like that is when Kevin Williamson put pen to paper, it was meant to be a parody of horror. But in a satirical, like we're gonna be earnest sense. But
it's still a serious film though. Like it has comedic moments, but it's not a parody like it's parody Scary Movie.
It's not like Scary Movie. It's a little more like it's more satire than parody, I guess. I'm trying to think of like High Anxiety.
You think Scream is campy?
Oh my gosh.
I guess I don't consider it campy because I just consider it like, I don't know. Like when I think campy, I don't know. I don't think of it as campy.
Yeah. Well, the gay men who love Scream. Because it's like, I think that's why a lot of us love like the Mrs. Loomises, the Jills, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, take it and go 100. Give me my villain monologue. I love that shit.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess I didn't mind the six killers as much. I'm like, yeah, give me that, like, chew the scenery. Eat, give me all that, all that acting chops.
I mean, I guess if you think about the fourth one, that's probably like has the most of that kind of stuff in it.
Yeah.
Like you get some black comedy in there too.
Yeah.
Because of the way they talk about the characters and like the back and forth with the two cops before they die. Like you have some different elements that kind of make it a little bit more moments in them,
Or look at 3. I mean, Parker Posey, full camp. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, maybe a little too much so. I think that's I think that's why 3 is kind of my least favorite in general, just because I think it doesn't it doesn't balance it well.
Yeah.
Whereas I think like 2, I think all the other ones typically balance it well. 3 is the only one where it got way too, but that's also because of Columbine, like, and all that behind the scenes stuff that they were like, violence in movie, violence in real life, violence in movies, we can't have too much. Kids killing kids, we can't have that. So they took it out of Woodsboro, put it in Hollywood. But I mean, I do appreciate what they were saying with 3. I think that's what's tough is like, I think like the message with 3 is like, I mean, it's a Me Too film, right? I mean, it's about the dangers of Hollywood, right? And like and how women were treated and still are treated, and funny that it was made under the guise of Harvey Weinstein, under his eye, and
awkward,
right? Like So I think the message is
future telling at its best, apparently.
Foreshadowing.
Or like people saying like they know what's going on and we're gonna say it, and I think it's kind of like their way of like saying like, but yeah, but I was saying it's just unfortunate that the kind of like the other stuff kind of undercut the real value of 3.
Yeah. And I think 3 being a little more silly is probably another reason it's not one of my favorites. Cause like I definitely laugh or chuckle when I'm watching most of them. Probably not. Oh, I don't remember laughing, and I laughed a lot in 5. 5 was funny. But like 3 is like you said, it's a very it's a completely different formula in that regard as far as the balance of humor and like not humor. Cause I don't really like horror comedies, not really my thing. Yeah. And so if in order for me to like them, they have to be a really good balance. Like Norin and I reviewed Satanic Panic, which is a horror comedy. And that one was one that balanced it really well. Like there was a really good balance of funny, but also a really dark storyline with some really unsettling things going on. And so because the two things were balanced, I really enjoyed that one. But then there's others that I don't like I'm not a huge Evil Dead fan for that reason. Like for 1, 2, and God 3, like they're just not, it's just not, my cup of tea, which you guys already know because y'all have to hear me talk about this stuff all the time. But I guess when I think of camp, I think I separate the two words of silly and cheesy, and I don't feel like Scream is cheesy. I feel like it's just silly sometimes. And maybe that's why I don't categorize it as camp.
It doesn't have to be cheesy per se.
Camp's hard to define, right? Yeah. Camp is like
probably a subjective term, which is why it doesn't mean the same thing for me that it means for you.
Because camp doesn't just mean funny. So camp truly is like something is unapologetically itself, no matter how silly it may appear.
Yeah.
Right. It's doing it in earnest.
Yeah.
So like a really silly example of what camp is, and I was using this, I forgot who I was explaining to, but like Power Rangers is camp. Yeah. Right? Because it's silly. They are just adults in spandex doing crazy stuff. And they're not pretending it's anything else. And it is what it is. And I feel like that's camp, right? Because it's not like being silly or goofy or stupid on purpose, right? Because then it becomes forced camp, and that's not camp.
and then when you add things like that to horror, then it just ruins the entire experience because it wasn't either thing. It was too, it was just this, yeah. I don't know. I think it's in, like, that's what makes these conversations like interesting though, because like, not like we all have like such different takes. I don't think we've all agreed on everything. That has not happened because we other than like, I think, oh no, Steve, you said 2 was your favorite, was your number 1.
2 is my subjective favorite. I think when I'm being honest with like film critiquing, I always put 1 first. But
but that's the one that you enjoy.
That's just the one that where I'm like, give me Sarah Michelle Gellar. Give me
I know.
Eyebrows in the sorority. Give me like, the things going crazy in the theater, lights exploding, car.
2
is fun.
2 is one of the strongest sequels in a horror. Like I loved Scream 2. Like, and the whole like movie, like the whole conversation around movies and taking it to this bigger level of it being this like group discussion about what is or isn't was so smart. And that's actually one of the things that I liked about 4. Was they kind of took it to the next level with the movie group or the horror movie club with Charlie, and I always forget the other guy's name. What's the other guy's name? Charlie and Robbie. Did you say it, Robbie? Okay. And like the just kind of taking some of those things that I really loved from 2, but like making them for newer high school aged kids. And I really liked that.
Yeah. It also just highlights what was different about being a movie nerd, right? Because that club wouldn't have existed in the 90s.
Yeah.
Right. But of course it would exist in 2011, right? Because being a nerd for movies is cool now.
That's true. Also, one thing that I'd forgotten about was that damn Final Destination kill in the second movie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. The guy that's on top of the car. Yeah.
The impale. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't like those movies either.
Oh, those are camp.
Camp.
Those are camp. Okay.
Yeah, that's camp. Yeah.
Those are camp. I do love those. Those are fun. I love the Final Destination movies.
We're supposed to be getting a 6th one.
We are.
Yeah.
I went and saw, what was the one that they did? The first, I don't know if they did multiple ones in 3D, but I went and saw one in 3D, and that was a blast. Like,
I think they
it's
started
the one with the tire. I think it's the one with the tire kill at the racetrack.
4.
I think
Because
that's.
I remember seeing that shit like come out of the screen. And, like, it was so good. It was so fun seeing that in 3D. I would love to see another one. I'm excited. That sounds like
Nope. Won't be going to that one.
I'll figure it out.
That was one that had a surprise 5th entry because I think the 5th one is very strong.
Yeah. I would agree with that because you think by that point everything it's like watered down and it's like
they added whole new elements of like, well, if I kill you, does that move me down the line or move me up? Like it became this whole like thing, and I was like, oh,
almost like a rat race.
Yeah. So hopefully that bodes well for what they do with the 6. But apparently,
the last one I saw was the 3rd one.
Well,
I couldn't do it after that. That's the last one.
I like that one because that has Mary Elizabeth Winstead in it, right? That's the lead.
So
3, yeah.
Yeah, she's the lead in that one. Yeah,
she's great too. Yeah,
that movie has one of my favorite scene transitions, and it was tanning bed to coffin.
Oh, that was so good.
That is such a good movie transition.
That was so smart.
Holy crap! Like,
yes,
I hope they had a raise. That editor needed a raise.
That was good. Totally agree. Well, I think like the so because I don't know, like when Scream came out, there was like right after that there was like a slew of other movies that came out that were like super similar. We got like the I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend. What was it? Wasn't there another really big one that came out around the same time that was like that?
I think there was like a Cry Wolf. I remember one called Cry Wolf. That
sounds familiar.
Like
Cry, it was like all similar,
or whatever
like,
it was, or something.
Premises of like that kind of thing. And I just think that like when you look at the way that those things have come now, like I didn't really like I Know What You Did Last Summer. I liked the first one enough, I guess, but not enough to see the next one. I didn't watch I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, but I love Sarah Michelle Gellar. Like anything with Buffy in it, I'm probably gonna sit through at least one time, just naturally. So like I will talk about light and dark. Small tangent. Light and dark being well balanced in a storyline. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because she spends so long being on one side and she finally just at the very end, just when she needs to, when it's like at its most important, she realizes that it's okay to accept the dark, and then it's like a game changer for the rest of the story and how the show ended. That does light and dark. Scream 7, take notes. That does light and dark like perfect. Anyway, my point is that like I was interesting to see all of the movies that came out after Scream and like what the directions was that they went in, because I don't even remember Urban Legend. I know I've seen it, but there's a bunch of those too, is there not?
There's like 2 or 3 total.
There's
I actually just saw the first one for the first time like last year.
What'd you think?
I liked it. I mean, like, I think it would have hit different if I saw it in the 90s.
Originally?
I think, but it was still fun. Like, it wasn't, again, campy.
Very campy. I know Urban Legend. And because the first one is the one that starts with the girl in the car, right? And
Right.
They're at the gas station
behind you, and yeah.
Oh my God! Talk about like I think we ended up talking about this on the live I did with Sledgehammer actually, where they like they were talking about like now every time I get in my car I have to like look and make sure there's like nobody in the back seat. That was good.
No.
You know what I didn't realize came out the same year as Scream? The Craft.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
I didn't realize that came out the same year. I guess I thought that came out the next year.
Nev had a year.
She did have a year.
Was Party of 5 already out by the time she did Scream?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's where they saw her. Like
that was kind of like her first.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Craft came out. I mean, I knew it was probably around the same time, but I didn't realize that's wild.
That's also the same year that From Dusk Till Dawn came out.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
You said it was a strange movie?
It's a great
movie.
Great movie. It was a great movie.
I don't think I've ever met anybody that didn't like that one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
If there's ever a movie you're going to watch about strip clubs, that's a It's a good one to watch.
Yeah.
It's really the only one to watch. But
I really feel like that one is a bit overrated. I'm not as into that one as everybody else is. Probably because of the scene though. Or I mean the starting point of everything. I also didn't like John Carpenter's Vampires. I didn't like that either.
I don't think I've seen that.
No?
I don't think I've
That's
seen
my
that.
favorite.
Is it?
I
Oh,
love that one. I love that one, yeah, to death. Yeah, with James Woods and
James
Baldwin.
Woods.
That's such a good one.
Woods.
Anything he's in, I'm kind of like, I'm a sucker for him. So like anything he's in, it's gonna get like an automatic B+ just because he's in it.
Because he's in it. I didn't like that one as much. I think like, I don't know. I've seen a lot of, did y'all know they're remaking The Lost Boys?
Yeah.
Mm.
I heard they released some of the cast already,
They
right?
did. That was gonna be my follow-up if you saw some of the cast. So it's one of them is one of the kids from It. I can't think of
The
his
one
name.
that played Bill. No.
Yeah.
Billy, right?
The one that's in Knives Out.
So. The kid that played Billy. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah. Mark's. Oh gosh.
I have not seen the new It movies.
Well, until this past year, until this year, It Chapter 1 remake was the highest grossing horror movie of all time.
Not surprising.
Not anymore, but it was.
Mm-hmm.
Now I did watch the original.
The new ones are good. I didn't like the ending of Chapter 2. It seemed a little silly, but I really liked it other than that.
Yeah.
I may watch it one day at 2:00 in the afternoon on a bright and sunshiny
Not that
day.
scary. Oh my God.
Look.
Not that
I dragged my husband to see it. He survived, and he's not a horror movie guy himself, so you might be okay.
We'll see.
I
I also don't like spiders.
Oh, okay. You'd be fine in the first one.
The first one.
The first one was cool because I learned a lot about like the stuff that that Skarsgård could do. So like the contortioning stuff he did himself. That's not fake. The drooling, the eyes, he learned to do these things. And that is like
the great actor.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. And then
it's a great acting family.
True. Must be genetic, yeah. Yeah, and there's like the scene where there's like a scene in particular in the first one, and I won't say too much in case Melinda decides to watch it, but when there's like a scene with a projector, or not a projector, a projector, or one of those light things, whatever
like
it is.
The camera flippy
thing. And so the first time that the kids see him in full Pennywise is that scene. So their reactions are genuine, which I thought was really cool. They had not seen him in full makeup until that scene. And so what you're seeing and how they react is a lot more genuine than you might think, which I thought was pretty cool.
That is cool.
That's very awesome.
Yeah. You guys have hopes for 7? I know we've probably talked a little bit about it, but
well, I kind of said mine with the chaos across the
country.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting.
I just hope they don't drop the ball with Sam and Tara. I think with these two characters, they have a good thing going. And like with 7, I hope they just utilize them correctly and we're happy with how they turn out.
Yeah, that little romance thing between
Chad and Tara
and Chad.
Yeah.
I know we're supposed to be happy for them, but y'all can't find any other time. No other time to talk about this. Maybe like not in the middle of trying to figure out who the ghost faces are. I hated that. I was like, y'all are literally dumb. Like that's one of those things that like people yell, like don't go in there. This is one of those things like stop it. Stop being cute and try to stay alive and then be cute after. We can talk about it later.
Okay. You know what my thing is like that? Totally skirting the topic. Why do they always run upstairs? Why? They always run up the freaking stairs. Like, what do you think is going to happen upstairs? You're upstairs.
Isn't there a Scream movie that makes that happen for a reason where they can't go out the front door? Or am I thinking?
Well, Sydney explicitly calls it out, and then Ghostface corners her at the front
she
door.
does the exact same thing. Yeah.
They all
I
go
thought
up
there
the
was
stairs.
like a scene in one of the movies where when they tried to, there was like something, there was like a reason they couldn't. But maybe
Well,
I'm thinking.
There was was it in 4? It was in 4 where the girl couldn't go out of the other door, so she went up the stairs into the attic and then still got stabbed and then like crawled down the stairs that magically went into the garage.
It was like a weird like
whose attic connects to the garage? But
People who get stabbed in movies, apparently.
that is my thing in every horror film where they run up the stairs.
I think the only time that works is if there's a kid involved, right? If I'm downstairs in my house where my child lives and there's Ghostface, right? I'm coming upstairs to protect my child. But otherwise, like it happens in poor Buffy. That happens. She does the similar things too. And she talks about, I don't know. Like I think it's been a common thing in horror movies in general. They always do.
Buffy has powers. She doesn't matter. She
didn't have any powers in the second movie. She got.
I always see her come up in these memes that's like should have been a final girl, and I'm like, she is the final. Y'all cut it out. Y'all know watching Buffy asses like. God, yeah, I think I don't know. The stair thing is dumb too. I don't know, but I think like it's become a staple in horror in slashers.
Or like when they go into the dark basement with the flashing light.
What was the question that you're not answering?
What are our hopes?
What are your hopes for 7? That there's no stairs in the houses?
No fucking stairs. They're all gonna be, what are those called? Ranch style homes.
That's it.
You're gonna have to go to the Midwest.
That's gonna be such a short movie. There's not gonna be any chase scene. It's just gonna be death.
Oh.
I don't know. I would be fine with like what you were saying, Steve, about like I just want there to be an unsettling amount of them. You know, they gave us a taste of it this time with Jason and the half friend in the fridge. And they, you know, and then of course having the 3 killers instead of the typical 2, like we got a little bit of intro into living in a world where there's like a bunch of ghosts. I want like an alarming amount. Like I want it to be like, I thought that's what I was going to get with the train scene based on, you know, the original teaser trailer for it. Mm-hmm. Which by the way, they did a really good job convincing me that Mindy was on the same fucking train as the friends, because when she was not on the same train, I was like, I am about to be upset. Like I was like, I do not like that at all.
Well, and they also did a good job still trying to convince you that it wasn't Doofus, because they kept showing him and he's like concerned. He's like, oh gosh, fine. And like Napoleon dynamiting over there is like, fine. But then he must pull a mask on, right?
No, the other killer in the maybe.
It's the sister in the subway.
It's the sister.
Is it the sister in the subway?
Yeah. So she explicitly said, well, that's also the weird thing is she says she attacked Gail. She's pretty strong if she's the one in that apartment.
I would have thought Gail would have been the dad.
She did most of the killings if you kind of track it. It was like mostly her and the father. Ethan was kind of just the red herring just there to...
Ethan
Well, Ethan was Annika.
Annika, I think that was,
That was
Oh, you're right. Yep.
Even though he was studying. At econ.
Mindy was so funny. I think that's the part I probably laughed at the most in 6, where she's like texting and she's like AKA GF or Ghostface or whatever. I'm like, I love her character so much. She's so funny.
Love Jasmine.
Yeah, she's great. Like I loved her. I like her kind of filling in this role of Randy, because that's essentially like, and the little monologues and stuff that she does are really cute. And I think she's a riot. And like, I realized there's also like, I know we're supposed to suspend disbelief when we watch horror movies, even when we're watching things like this where it's people and people. But like one of the things that came up when I reviewed this with Horror Fiend TV was the fact that like their wounds go away. So they're like, they get really badly hurt. And then in the next scene, which is like 5 minutes later, they're like, They don't have, and there was like inconsistencies with Dewey's limp and things throughout the franchise. But this one was like, it just ignored that they were hurt. And then like Mindy just, hulking her way out to find them. Like a lot of that stuff was like it was like too far-fetched, but
she was tweaking on drugs, which she called out. She's like, I'm on a bunch of drugs right now.
She did say that, yeah. Well, like the fact that she just was like able to get out, like it was no big, like she just waltzed out, was not necessarily believable. But
right,
yeah, I thought like some of that stuff was, with 7, I would really like to see us completely get rid of, like, move away completely from the origin and move it into something bigger. I loved I want a bunch of ghost faces. I want it to be so unsettling. They don't know who to trust. They can't go anywhere. They can't be anywhere for any length of time because everywhere is dangerous and it's not safe. And we got taste of that, in 6, but I want it like full on. Like,
so you want it to be the ghost face apocalypse?
Yeah, that'd be good.
I know what I don't want to see. I don't want to see Sydney's kids get involved somehow.
No.
Like, I just want her to live her life.
I think they're done. Yeah, I don't
so.
think. I think one of the things I did like that they did in 6 was the send off. So like Gail tells, I think she says this to Sam. She says like, she deserves her happy ending, and I felt like that was a very, even though the situation sucked, what happened and like why it happened or whatever. I really liked that they did that like last little like heart note goodbye or whatever. Like I thought that was really respectful given the circumstance. Because I was fine with Sydney not being in this film. I didn't think she needed to be. I didn't think Gail needed to be. I was fine moving away from our legendaries and starting over with like just the new folks. I thought that was a really nice touch though. Yeah, so I don't think anything involving Sydney's gonna. Oh, well, I hope not come back.
I hope not. That's the only thing. Like I've thought that for a little while. Is like I really just hope they let her
just move on.
Just move on. I don't want to see her kids brought into it because, like, they brought family back into it for the 4th one with
Jill.
I just don't want to. I don't want to see that happen. They already have that with Sam being Billy's daughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't want to see her kids get involved.
I want to see them tie in Sam's mom, or Sam and Tara's mom.
Which again, it would be a good parallel to 3 with the mom. If they do a mom story, it would just be a very different kind of story. But
it would just be because we haven't there hasn't been anything with her yet, as far as So I think that would be really good. I, of course, want Stu to come back as the leader of the cult. I would be totally fine with that.
Yeah, somehow.
Kirby is secretly is actually a ghost face, but like she needed help getting rid of the other 3 who were trying to like overthrow her in the cult. I'm here for all of it. Like the crazier with that shit, the better.
I want main character deaths again.
Yeah.
I think they were so afraid to like. After Dewey, they're like, okay, let's take a break from killing off main characters. Yeah. And I'm like, you can't do that in a slasher, right? I mean, Tatum in 1, Randy in 2, so many people in 3, right? Like, you got to kill your main characters,
Yeah. We don't need to feel like it's safe. It needs to feel unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
I was really surprised that Mindy and what is his name?
Chad, the brother?
Chad, the brother. Thank you. I was really surprised that they both survived.
Well, Chad's the new Dewey, right? I mean, Chad gets mortally wounded in 5, and they're like, "Oh, we got another one," and it's him, which is the Dewey line. And then the same thing with 6. He got horribly murdered, but
by
somehow
both of them, right? Weren't they both stabbing him and like
killing him?
And
then you got the double white
side.
Oh, I loved that. Okay, that was a really wicked scene. It was I wonder how many times they had to do that before they got it right. That scene was so good. There were moments like that, right? Though in 6 that were so fun. I loved that. I forgot about that, Norton. That was so good. Yeah. Yeah. Chad's the new Dewey. Mindy is Randy.
I think they will kill off at least. It's 4 people. I think
it's got to be. Well, what they'll probably do is give especially because they're building up this relationship with Tara and Chad. Maybe Chad really will die in the next one.
See, that's why I thought he was going to die in this one.
Because they got
it's
you
like
connected.
They're finally like, oh, and then blah, 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 you know.
Like you do. Yeah.
Like you do.
Like you do. Yeah. Usually they only show things like that in movies because they're going to rob you of it. It's the same thing. Like whenever I like horror movies give me such distrust for film. I'm like, oh, there's an animal. Why is there an animal? Why are you showing me this? What's about to happen to the animal? Like in Smile. When I don't know if Melinda, I know you haven't seen Smile. You've seen it though, Norrin, right? I know Steve has. Yeah. So like when we meet the cat, I'm like, no. Like immediately as soon as I see it, I'm like, something horrible is gonna happen to that baby.
Now I never will see it.
Oh, it's so scary. It's good. I loved it. It made my top list for 2022.
Oh, then I would probably wouldn't watch it anyways.
It's good. It's unsettling. It was good though. I liked it. I liked it way better than what was the other one everybody was so in love? Barbarian. I loved it way more than that.
Mama. I love Barbarian.
Yeah. But yeah, like anytime they introduce like romantic relationships or they get you these like fluffy bunny feelings, you're like, oh, somebody's getting their throat slit or like something bad is gonna happen.
I'm pretty sure like in that scene where they're like, yeah, the four of us, like we both were like, something bad about to happen. And then when that happened in the theater, I'm like, he about to die. I think I said that out loud.
Yeah.
You just know something's gonna happen.
Yeah. They did seem to be a little nervous about killing off anybody. Everybody survived. Nobody was so wounded they couldn't just walk around and do whatever they wanted. That part was obnoxious.
Which is wild for a movie that has brutal deaths. That like the main characters are just totally good.
Yeah,
it really had some brutal deaths. That scene of the roommate getting killed, and I really thought she was dead.
Quinn.
Gwen.
Yeah. Quinn. Okay, sorry.
Quinn. The red hair. Her. I really, really thought she was dead. So like when she popped back up, I was like, that bitch.
See, and I was like,
so convincing.
I had like a totally different. A lot of people said that they assumed it was Ethan because they really pushed it, but that was the reason I thought it wasn't him. So I guess that was that worked on me because I was like, oh, it's not him. But then they revealed the two, or they had the two together, and I was like, it's got to be the dad and the roommate, the daughter. I knew it. Like if they hadn't connected the two, I would have not been able to figure it out. But because
maybe
it was like the way that it was between like the cop being involved in their lives and the daughter or the roommate being his daughter, I was like, I don't know. Sounds like it could be, yeah.
But in Scream movies, you get to a point where you funnel into the third act. It can only be so many people, right? Once you get to a certain point where you're like, well, no, it's not these 3 or 4. And you can only, and these ones are dead. Well, so.
Yeah, that's true. It narrows down to so many towards the end. And the third acts really do make or break the Scream films as far as where they rank. Like there are like 3 I actually didn't hate until the final act. And that's why it's in my bottom of my list, because it was like the third act was my least favorite third act. And then and the same thing with 6, the third act, I didn't like it. 2's third act, the first one, I was good with the 5th one. I liked 4 for the most part. But even in 4, the third act, part 2 at the hospital was like, it's just like, it really does set you up for I think your feelings on everything all together, because it's, that's when we get the rest of our story. That's when we get our killer reveals, our final little moments before, Dewey or Chad survive, those those moments leading up to that. But the third act is so important in this franchise. It sets it up to be a good or a bad.
Definitely. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Josh. I love the sorry to know if I dropped your. He's the Josh. A Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake is who did the ghost face at the beginning.
Thank you for the intro.
Yeah, they loved it. Thank you. Yeah, I think that that just is like one of the things that's like, because the third act you're waiting on everything that's you've been waiting on. I don't know. Like I just think that's one of the things that really does make a difference overall for the films. But I'll go. Well, Melinda, we'll be going to see 7. Hopefully they have cool stuff like this.
Hopefully.
Oh yeah, I got mine over there. My cup is over there.
My child took my ghost face off of mine.
Yeah, the second one I got for you. Look, it was an ordeal for this cup. I waited, so I think I didn't miss very much of
you missed the intro.
Part of it. I missed
the Mara Weaving dying.
Death. I missed the very first death.
Yeah,
because I was waiting for our order so I could get her this cup, and then they gave me the cup and the freaking lid was broken, and I was like, this bitch. So I had to go get another lid, and then I left the little figurine by the stupid soda machine. So as we were leaving, I had to
got me
another one.
Yeah.
Like, gosh dang it, here's your cup.
Friend.
He said you're such a good friend.
You're a good friend. Yeah.
Thanks.
She also made people at Dunkin' one time come out from the back and get me a damn donut.
Oh my God. I was about to jump back there and be like,
she seems so nice, but she's actually like a grizzly bear when she's mad.
I said, excuse me, nice 3 times.
You did. No, you did. I know. You were very nice until you were fed up. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted the popcorn thing, but like they're the only theater, the Cinemark or whatever it is. I kept calling it Cinemax for
that's something else.
Cinemark theater. Yeah. There's only one in Georgia, and it's really far. Yeah. And so that wasn't an option for me. And so, but we did get cool cups.
I ordered it online, the Cinemark cup. I was gonna get here in like August.
That's why we didn't get the popcorn bucket.
That's what I meant, the popcorn bucket.
Yeah,
I meant the bucket. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's why we didn't get the bucket. It's because we were looking at it, and I was like, damn. She was like, it's not going to get here until like August or something. I was like, those bitches. But then we saw they had them at the theater.
It's still cool, but it loses magic that I couldn't have it in the moment. Like, the cup was a nice like surprise though. I was like, oh my God, they've got little figurine cups, and I love the cup. I use it all the time. But
that was where at AMC
had them, yeah. Well, I told myself when the popcorn bucket gets here, I'm just gonna have a nice little August Screamathon, and that's
a cute idea.
I'm just gonna do that.
The great idea.
But I think my closest Cinemark was Jersey, and I was gonna go there. So
nobody wants to go to Jersey.
Got to pass through Elizabeth. And sorry, no shade to anyone who lives there, but there's like a power plant, and it's notorious for as it smells. Sorry, Jers.
Well, I think that's all I had for this one. Do you guys got any final thoughts on Scream? Everybody agreeing to go see 7 when it comes out?
Yeah.
I'm never going to give up on this franchise.
I probably won't either. Even though 5 and 6 are not that like strong as far as like what I compare to the others. That's not true though. I actually really loved 5. I really loved 5. I tried to do a review the same night after I went to see it, back when I used to do 30-second reviews on Facebook. And I sat down to try to do it like right after, because I wanted the hype and the emotion. And it is a disaster of a clip, because I didn't know what to say. I was so smitten with it. I was so like overwhelmed with emotion, because obviously, we lost Dewey, and I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, but I've seen that video since then. And I'm just like, what a train wreck of it. Because I was so overwhelmed with how I felt about the film that I could not make it a cohesive statement for a review. Like, I couldn't. I was literally just like,
go see this movie.
Yeah, it's
I remember you sending me that, and you were like, here's my review. It's a train wreck, but here you go, watch it.
Oh my God. And then there was, because I really was in love with it. And I still am. I really loved 5. I thought 5 was a very great reintroduction to this franchise. I really liked it a lot. 6 was just a little weaker in my opinion, but I really did like 5. That's true. I forgot I sent that to you. Yeah, I did really like it. So I'll definitely be going to see 7. I love the Scream franchise.
Even if the next one is garbage, we'll still go see 8.
You're 1,000% right.
We have to see it out until the end.
Yeah. totally committed at this point.
Basically.
Yeah. Cool.
Basically.
Well, thank you guys for making time to do this. This was fun.
Thank you for inviting us. It was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
This was fun.
Yeah, always. Yeah, and thank you guys for hanging out with us and watching us discuss Scream and other things. Mostly Scream, though. We did really good.
90% Scream.
90% Scream.
Tangents are okay. They're a part of life.
Especially as a horror fan, I feel like we're really notorious about the tangent thing. I never stay on topic 100%, not about anything in life. So, but anyway, yeah. So thank you guys again. All of the links to follow everybody, including Melinda, are in the description for this episode. I also put the link to the Sledgehammer Scream rankings and the and where to find Josh from Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake. He is an absolute joy to interact with. Very, very friendly, very great support in the community. And that Ghostface video was, I loved it so much. It was so perfect. So yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend coming up, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.